Welcome, gods and time travelers, to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast, where we discuss the latest in entertainment and pop culture. My name is Dylan, and I'm here with my co-host Akram. How you doing today?
What's up, Variants? I'm doing very good. How about yourself, Dylan?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about this new show that just dropped on DisneyPlus. Our favorite Asgardian anti-hero. Got a lot to talk about.
What new show are you talking about, Dylan?
We just talk about like the new Mandalorian or something.
Yeah, I know. Very excited about this. Finally, a third official Disney Plus Marvel related show. So very excited to speak about it.
Before we begin, I'd just like to say our podcast is brought to you by Anchor, which is a free podcast hosting service that distributes to all the major platforms like Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and all the lot. You can also listen to us on our YouTube channel at the Lunch Table Podcast. So please be sure to follow us on whatever platform you're listening to. In today's episode, we'll be talking about Loki. Please note there will be spoilers ahead. So if we spoiled something for you, you probably skipped this intro and branched off the sacred timeline. So Akram, overall thoughts before we begin.
Overall thoughts. I must say I'm enjoying the show a lot more than I've expected. I didn't know how it would hold up. I mean, Loki, I've always felt like he could hold up, his own movie. He's just that type of personality, kind of like Robert Downey Jr. I can't really imagine different actors playing Loki, but that's the great thing about this show. It opens so many possibilities, and you could bring new people, which we'll talk about later. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the overall theme that they got going down. It feels like a character study. So I'd give this episode like a solid 9 out of 10. I really did enjoy this. How about you?
I agree. Loki's always been kind of like that side character or supporting character to like Thor or the Avengers. I mean, he was a great villain in Avengers 1 too, but I feel like this show will definitely give him due credit and put him in the spotlight in the MCU continuity.
Yeah.
We've started this journey with WandaVision, and it's just been, and then we have Captain America and Falcon. How do you think this show holds up so far from what you've seen compared to the other two shows that Disney's put out?
Well, here's a surprising thing about Disney Plus Marvel Studio related series. There's like huge themes, in the background of it, and I think it holds up really well. You know what I mean? I think that Wanda dealt with her issues, Falcon and the Winter Soldier dealt with theirs, including race. But this show is really a character breakdown, as I said before, and I'm enjoying it. I think it might be very, very important for the future of the Marvel universe in general.
I agree. I would think like for Wanda, I think like the theme might have been like loss and recovery and how do we cope with it.
Yep.
And Falcon and Winter Soldier was like, it was more like political, and like you mentioned, there was like social justice topics that were touched on. For this series, I mean, just from the first episode, it seems like it's a lot about like redemption and choice. Like, are our choices our own? Are they designed? I don't know. It just seems like an interesting thing that they're touching on.
Absolutely. And the thing about that is not just choice, but like they are, I don't know how he's going to go back to his regular timeline. He will never probably go back to his regular timeline. So it's almost like if it's a death sentence for his own life, his own goals. And now that they've broken him down, he's completely changed. Not so much. I mean, he still has his character, but he's completely changed, meaning that he has a different purpose. It's all about that glorious purpose.
Exactly. And that's the title.
And so
of the episode.
I love that they completely like pulled off a Negan with him, where like they did a reality check, how they did with, and I love mentioning Walking Dead because I'm a big fan of Walking Dead, guys. Don't at me. But yeah, they basically, he held himself, high in a pedestal, and now he's brought down to this level where he actually has a way more important goal in mind now. You know what I mean? Just taking over the world isn't as important as he thought. Now he has to have a better purpose, and saving the whole universe, the whole timeline. Like, yeah, man, that's a lot of pressure for him. And I'm pretty sure that broke him, realizing that he died in Infinity War. And I really appreciated that from the director as well. She wanted to work actually in a new Spider-Man movie or in a future Spider-Man movie. So I'm really interested to see what else she got up her sleeve. But I really enjoyed that. Another thing I want to mention, guys, is that I did some research and I realized that when people say, for example, what I realized about this whole arc so far, and just this one episode, I mean, of course, we had to see the whole thing. A lot of people would say that a coming of age story is mostly meant for children, which is true. But in Loki's case, he has a lot of growing up to do because he realizes that his dreams can never come to pass. And so why I compare this to a coming of age story is that there's 4 steps, right, to a coming of age story. So there's the meaning of realization, which is emotional, mental preparation, removal, the change of environment, and challenge, proving if he's ready. And lastly, reintegration, the gaining of new insight and status.
Interesting.
So all this happened in this one episode. That's why I felt like it was kind of, I compared a lot to The Walking Dead, but it's just, he's facing the reality. And it's so funny that this show, they're basically trying to stop, reality from breaking and basically maintain the main timeline. So he's given this new purpose. It adds layers to this character thus far. There's more layers. He kind of had this anti-hero thing in the previous films, but now you definitely see there's more of a bigger arc coming his way, and I hope we see more of him.
Yeah, a lot of people forget this isn't the Loki that we saw at the end of Endgame. This is 2012 Loki, which was still the scheming, backstabbing, archetypal villain that we know that killed Agent Coulson and then tried to dethrone Odin. So you can still see a little bit of that there, but I mean, you can also still kind of see the Loki that kind of came back to his morality in Dark World and Ragnarok.
He's always been there. He's just, like he said, it's his mission, whatever his mission may be, to take over, whatever. It's his mission. And this is there's a whole facade to his character. And deep down, he's just a hurt and lost person. And I think they had to start strong by forcing him, like he had to, either you're going to get erased. I don't know where those people go whenever they hit them with the batons, but either you're going to be erased or you're going to work with us. And I felt like that's important because, again, this is the 2012 Loki. He's as menacing as Loki could be around that time. And you had to force his hand, honestly, to change. And
but he still kind of got like that funny comical side too.
He always will. Yeah. I mean, that's his soul.
He's not,
you know what I mean?
Straight like maniacal, like Red Skull or Ultron, but
they gave such a good humanity to him in this episode. That's
it like depends on like who he's around and like, because like especially like when he saw like his mother Frigga, like that she was his anchor to humanity and morality. So you can see it in his face, just like him regretting all the decisions he's made.
Yeah, did he know? I forgot actually. Did he know that he was basically the cause of his mother's death? I don't think they really went into that and
no, he didn't because remember he said because when I keep saying Agent Morbius. Agent Mobius.
Yeah. His name is hilarious, by the way. It's Mobius M. Mobius. That's
right. Well, because I keep thinking of the new Morbius movie that's coming out.
Yeah, I know.
But when Agent Mobius mentioned it to him, he was like, "Oh, you're lying," because he wouldn't think of doing something like that until he actually sees it.
Yeah, so you see, that's like, and again, they're breaking his character down so much, and he's just coming to this realization. So I felt like this episode really was a character study of Loki himself, and then later on, there's higher stakes. Of course, because always MCU movies, there's like an overall theme, but there's like higher stakes, in the foreground. So, I don't know. I think this series is something special. I'm not sure if it's a mini series. I know that for Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
they didn't mention how many episodes there were this season. Where did they? I'm not sure.
I think there's 6. I believe there's 6. Yeah. But for Falcon and Winter Soldier, I don't believe there was talks for, let's do season 2. I think it's just so well received. That's when they said, okay, let's do it. I mean, WandaVision is harder because that's directly connected
WandaVision,
to
they
Doctor
confirmed
Strange.
they're not making a sequel for it.
No, they're not. They're not. I
Yeah.
mean, because rightfully so.
It's a one and done. So
Yeah, because well, she's gonna end up in a Doctor Strange movie anyway, so you can't. It's kind of hard to manage all these properties and like the timeline. For Loki, you have, and then that's the thing. The setting is so ideal for a TV show or even a game or movie because you could do so much with it, and you could introduce so many characters, and that's why it's so important because there's different timelines. Meaning that, well, for example, Agents of Shield ended up being in a separate timeline, so I don't know if Mobius like remedied that timeline and said, let's fix this. But it was a good ending at Agents of Shield. But they ended up before the Falcon and the Winter. I'm sorry, before the Winter Soldier film, when those buildings got destroyed, they ended up before that moment, and it was never alluded that it will be destroyed. So it was a good ending overall. But my thing is this going to cross into those type of timelines? There's a lot of explanation to be done.
And that's another thing I'm loving about all these Marvel shows. It's just like, I love each and every one of them, not just because we're getting more MCU content, but because they're taking a lot of these underused characters and giving them more spotlight and character development that we don't see in the movies, like Falcon. Like Falcon, like, I mean, he was always great, but he was always like kind of like the supporting character for Captain America. Now he is Captain America. So it's like you take these great characters and you just make them better.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, I'm just surprised like how DisneyPlus is handling the themes now. Now I know, they're heavy substance shows, just don't look at them on the surface as much and you'll realize. And honestly, most of the climax from the shows really shows you that, this is the breaking point for the characters. And I really appreciate that. That's awesome that they're going that direction. I can't wait to see future shows like that'll introduce new characters too. I think that's way more exciting for me just to see, because that's the introduction and I want to see what they're going to do with themes, what's going to be Kamala Khan's themes and whatnot. But for Loki itself, very, very interesting show and very heavy substance about, how can you redeem this type of man that
it's very almost biblical in a way. It's like, it's like a Judas kind of story, like having an epiphany about your life in that moment, especially like when he's in the time authority,
right?
And then he pulls out the drawer and you got the Pokemon card Infinity Stones, the freaking paperweights. That made me so mad.
No, like that freaked me. That's when I knew, like, wow, these guys are really powerful.
They don't
and he
around.
knew that too. Yeah, like he knew that too. He was like, this is more powerful.
So like in that moment, he realized like he's powerful, but he is not the center of the universe.
Oh yeah,
he is like. I mean, he kind of knew that with Thanos too, but he realizes there's power beyond. Like it's kind of like historically, like when you discover like the nuclear atom, like you realize how small you are,
And he saw that video where Thanos killed him, and that clip played where like you will never be a god, and that's almost like his future self is talking to 2012 Loki and saying you will never be a god.
That's interesting, yeah.
So, and this setting is like, oh man, it gives so much leeway for intertextuality via religion or literature, and there's so many ideas that they could just pull from. And I think that's why it's really an important show. I keep mentioning that because it's essential that people know that, because there's so much to do in the show, and there's so much you can do in the future.
I feel the same way. Yeah, great themes in this show. I love what they're playing with. As far as like the nitty gritty, so did you see any like Easter eggs or?
Well, listen, if I were to go over every Easter eggs, I'd probably suck. I mean, I would have to watch the whole series or the whole episode through way slow-mo, but I know that you're that type of guy that could catch all of them. But I did notice some things. Definitely, I want Hasbro to do a replica of those Infinity Stones. You definitely know I would buy them.
Just but paperweights.
Yeah.
Like you see them on like Think Geek or something.
Right. Yeah, I know. Pre-order off of GameStop.
Right.
I gotta get more points in that. But yeah, no. Peggy Carter. I noticed some people were talking about that.
Yeah, I saw that. A lot of people.
That's weird.
Her.
That is weird. I don't know if that's really.
I don't know if that was just like. Was that actually her? Like the actress? or maybe just like a
not the
lookalike.
actress.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they'll cast that because they're gonna have to pay her a lot
I
of
mean, it's
money. just for
possible.
the
I mean,
TV.
like she did run Shield, so maybe in an alternate timeline, she is part of the TVA.
I mean, they probably had a lookalike. I'm not too sure. Or
They
it's
did
just
have a
some.
scroll in there too. I saw in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm glad that scrolls are just now. Well, they were introducing Captain Marvel, but they're everywhere basically, and I like that you're keeping the continuity going. But other than that, I mean, there were, I guess, some cool dialogues. What really got my attention was how the TVA headquarters is like so vast and huge.
It's very retro, futuristic. Reminded me of like the Jetsons.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so huge. It's really frightening to see like how much power they actually have.
And in the comics, I think they're in the null time zone, so they're outside of time.
Correct, exactly.
So that's crazy just to even think about, like you're outside of time.
Yeah, and I really wonder if they're gonna have references to Kang eventually.
That's what my next question was, because if for those who are not familiar with Marvel lore, Kang the Conqueror is a big villain that appears in Marvel Comics, and he's like a time traveling villain too. So I don't know, maybe possible. I thought like when we saw like the heads of like the gods in the background, I thought one of them was him, but I don't think
so. Some people were saying that the middle god was Kang, but I really don't think so. I think Kang is that type of shady, secretive character, probably in the lore that they're trying to set up, because his city or his kingdom was referenced in Ant-Man, Ant-Man and the Wasp, in the Quantum Zone. So I don't know. He's definitely going to be in Quantumania. So I don't know if this is going to
possibly
introduce him.
Fantastic Four, because I think he's also a Fantastic Four villain.
Possibly, but I'm not too sure, because he's definitely the main villain in Quantumania. So I don't know if they're going to reuse him for Fantastic Four, like unless he's set up to be this. They're trying to do something different with like Thanos was always in the background. So of him, he's like in the forefront now after a while. I'm not too sure. I don't think so. Fantastic Four is a shady project. We don't know anything about it. You know what I mean? It hasn't really started anything, but definitely Kang. And then also his lover, played by Gugu, and I'm probably gonna butcher this name, Gugu and
They say Google for a minute. I was like,
no. Gugu and Ra, Ravana Renslayer is his love interest. So I wonder if we're gonna see anything about her. She's definitely in promotional images for the series, so she's probably going to be a significant character. But we'll get more insight into that later on, I'm sure.
How do you think this show will relate to like the Eternals?
To be honest with you, I don't think it will relate much to the Eternals, because so far what we can see is everything's set in their own pockets of MCU lore. So like WandaVision is heavily related with magic. She's going to be in Doctor Strange, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's all about, super soldier serum and Captain America in general. And this show, I think it's a new, it's a new essence to the MCU. So I really think it's gonna be far away, probably the farthest. Like you would think Guardians of the Galaxy or Captain Marvel will be like farthest from the MCU, but no, I think actually Loki is way more farther. I think it's gonna talk more about the gods, the time lords. Excuse me that I don't know their names. Yeah, I don't know their names.
That's the thing. I keep making like Doctor Who references, like watching this, and the TVA is a lot like similar to the Commission from Umbrella Academy. Like I keep expecting to see number 5. I don't know if you watch that show.
No, I do. I just forgot about it. Yeah.
Like even like the way that they work, it feels like so departmental.
Right. Yeah, that is weird. Now that you made that reference, now I'm just thinking about it. That's so funny. But yeah, I think it's gonna be its own thing. You know what I mean? I think it's gonna be hard to relate to other properties in the MCU. I mean, they could have new characters that could be references, kind of like the Watcher and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 at the end, where it's just thrown in there. But how about you? Do you think that it has anything to do with the MCU, or do you think at the end, which I maybe think at the end, he's probably not going to return to his actual timeline? So what about you? Do you think that?
It's too early to say, but
very early.
I feel like he's gonna find a way. He's gonna do what they need him to do, and then he's gonna somehow find a way to get back to the alternate timeline. He's gonna break some like cosmic authority, and then
in Loki fashion.
In Loki, exactly. Like because he he's a good team player, but at the end of the day, he's out for himself too. And that's the thing with this version of Loki. He's still, like I said, he's still that conniving character. So he's still ambitious. And now that he's seen his timeline, I feel like he's gonna do something and just like somehow cause the multiverse, which we're gonna see in Doctor Strange.
Maybe he's gonna become like in his own merits, a new type of god. Like, you know, he created, let's say, for example, we're just predicting, but what if he creates the multiverse? So in a way, he's kind of a god, you know? So finally he is a god. And for good purpose too. I don't think he's gonna do anything where it's like shady or like probably a little bit selfish, but I don't think he's gonna do something where like it's gonna jeopardize a lot of lives. I think from this episode, I really feel like this is about redemption for him as well, and I really think that he's gonna change a lot.
That's the thing about Loki. He can turn on a dime. Like we've seen him. How many times has he redeemed himself and then just gone back to his old ways?
Yeah, but when you see your own mother die, and it's because of you, and then like
that's true.
He knows he has no purpose at all anymore. It's like, damn, you completely thrown all my history in the trash. I basically wasted my life. So let me do something bigger than myself. And I think that that's important for a younger generation too. For example, people who's trying to just find themselves and what they want to do in life, whether they want to join the army or just get a 9-to-5 job that they love, you know. And I think that's why the show is super important. I could relate to the show a lot, you know what I mean? So I think I like that theory that he may create the multiverse. I don't know how that'll come to pass. I don't know if we ever meet those three gods. But
he's definitely going to take advantage of the TVA now that he knows how powerful
he'll
they
take
are.
Advantage for sure. That's the fun part about Loki, and I think he will do that. But I don't think it's gonna like, oh, I'm gonna do this. And
in fact, I would even go to say once he's back in his timeline, I feel like he's not even gonna care about the Infinity Stones now. He's just gonna find a way to somehow harness the power of the TVA and then just control timeline for his own selfish purposes. But that's just my theory. Like you said, he could change. He could redeem himself and be a different Loki that we see. But
agree to disagree. Shakes hand.
How did you feel about that hooded rogue variant? Do you think that that's Loki or another character?
Absolutely, that's Loki. Absolutely, that's Lady Loki. Absolutely. Like there was leaked images back then with Tom Hiddleston and also the possible Lady Loki, Sophia de Martino. I definitely think that's Lady Loki. And anyway, if you've seen his gender, it says fluid. That's definitely like that's definitely Lady Loki. That for sure. And here's more proof that Mobius said, we're hunting basically you, or you a different version of you is killing, you know, TVA hunters. So
I forgot there were different versions of Loki too, because there's like Kid Loki, there's like female Loki too.
Yeah. Do you think the same?
I think so. I think there's evidence. I mean, like when little girl pointed to the stained glass of the devil,
Mephisto.
I know, I hate that. I know people are gonna say that too, but like the horns, like that could just be like his, you know, his, what do you call it? His helmet with the horns.
Yeah, his like no, I know.
And then
his helm,
they mentioned stab wounds on all the victims. So Loki uses knives.
He has a fetish for daggers, exactly. Just like his sister with swords.
And he has a knack for causing mischief. So the bubble gum, when he gave it to the girl, it's kind of like his signature mark.
Yeah,
because he is like a child in a way.
What's the cause, though? I wonder. I'm really interested to see why she's doing this. What she's trying to build.
That's what we don't know yet. Yeah,
she's gaining resources. I'm sure she's like trying to gain resources. So there's an overall thing she wants to do. Maybe she's trying to like hunt down this one person, but has to lure them out. I don't know.
We'll see. Time will tell.
Oh, also Miss Minutes is Tara Strong, just in case anybody.
Oh yeah, I forgot about. I did look that up. I love that because it reminded me of like the animation from like Jurassic Park, like the Mr. DNA.
Yeah, I know.
Dino DNA.
Everyone made that call back to that. Yeah.
Like the CVS receipt of everything Loki's ever said.
Yeah, I know. That was so funny. But yeah, you know, I'm interested to see what episode 2 will be. I don't know if Pompeii is going to be in this, because I remember there's like some previews where they show Pompeii. So that's kind of exciting to see. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun and shenanigans, but there's an overall like there's a dark humor behind it, and there's a dark theme behind it as well.
Do
And
you
I
think-
think we're gonna,
Do you think they'll go like into like different like how they did in Endgame, like different events in the MCU continuity? I feel like I saw like an image of like Morag,
uh
but I'm
that's
not sure.
important. If they don't do that, like that's one thing that they should do. You would imagine that, oh, that's the first thing they thought about was doing that. I think that it'll be a mix of both. I think it'll be like multiple places in one episode. I don't think it's just gonna be, oh, we're gonna spend this episode in Pompeii, because they don't have too many episodes anyway. And they don't know if they're gonna get a season 2. Well, the viewership certainly is racking up. From WandaVision to Falcon Winter Soldier to Loki, it's been skyrocketing every new show that comes out from DisneyPlus. So I certainly think so.
Also, I love that DB Cooper reference. A lot of people don't know that's an actual event that happened.
That is, I like when I seen the trailer and I saw a breakdown, actually, they were talking about DB Cooper. So I researched, and yeah, that's crazy. And it's so funny. I thought in the previews that was going to be like one of many probable heists that he would do later on.
Yeah, that's
when
what
he's
I thought
with the
too.
TVA. Yeah, so that's really funny. And it's a bet with Thor.
Mm-hmm.
Of all things. So
yeah, like I love when like they take like history and like add their own like twist on it.
And that just shows you how much a dick Thor was back then, like how overconfident he was. Like he would never do that now, obviously, but like that just shows you just such a character contrast to how he is now. And the same with Loki. So, and what about you? What are your other thoughts on it? Have you spotted any references that I should know about?
I did mention I made a note of what the temporal aura was. Is that significant? I feel like we've seen something like that in Doctor Strange. Because that could
probably
be important.
introduced in Doctor Strange. Yeah, that is.
And it was weird because Loki is a frost giant, right?
Right.
So I'm surprised he had like body heat.
Well, we won't go into the specifics. We're not going to go into the thermobiology of Loki,
okay,
but
yeah.
I don't know.
Or maybe it's like a time signature or something. I don't know how it works because they didn't really go over it. Also, that robot in the beginning kind of reminded me of the Penny Parker's robot from Into the Spider-Verse.
Which robot again?
The robot that was like, erasing all his clothes and shit.
Oh yeah, that was funny. Yeah, I know. Oh man, if Stanley was alive, he definitely would.
Oh,
be in this
now
show.
you just made me sad.
Yeah, he definitely would be in the show. You could imagine him as a clerk or something. He definitely would be.
He'd be like a janitor in the TVA or something.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna give him a haircut like they did with Thor too. I thought that would be funny they did that. But
what do you think of Owen Wilson's character?
Oh, Owen Wilson. I have a soft spot for Owen Wilson. I always love Owen Wilson. So I really like this character. Kind of mysterious too. I'm like, he's a really nice guy, but like I'm wondering if there's a darker side to him. You know, he has his own office, so I think he's a big shot. But I like the chemistry they both have. You know,
he reminds me of like the angel from It's a Wonderful Life, like showing him like, oh, this is your life, what it could be, but it's actually like, no, this is what happened in your life, and you just fucked up.
That and a little bit of like Lethal Weapon, I guess. Like maybe
I can see it. Like
I mean,
with bad cop kind of.
Yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they kind of had that going on, so I could see this going on too. And in a way, like, man, I'm Owen Wilson's character knows a lot more about life than Loki does. You know, he's been all over.
He knows a lot more than he's leading on, so I feel like he's gonna have a big reveal.
And then here's the thing, though, we're probably gonna get a shocking twist, because what's gonna happen when they finally resolve all conflicts at the end of the show? So what's gonna happen to Loki? So I think that's where Loki's gonna like make his grand escape, you know, his grand finale, and he still has his magical powers too. So he will.
I mean, they're gonna put him on a leash definitely with those collars, but I think they're gonna give him some leeway so that he can do what he needs to do.
And not only that, I feel like this show's so much about self-reflection, because now it's all about variance, and he's hunting down his female version of himself, and then also he's seen like Thanos kill him. So I seen some moments in the trailers where like they're having a good discussion on some alien homeworld or whatever. And
you know, who's to say it's one version of Loki? It could be multiple. I mean, there were 6 attacks. That doesn't mean
I hope so.
It was one version of Loki, so maybe there were multiple versions. Who knows?
Yeah, I hope so. And I feel like that could definitely ease his transition into possibly becoming better than who he is now. Seeing probably like we'll see a child version. That'll be crazy, and like he'll feel sorry for himself or something and say, I got to do better than this, you know. So sky's the limit with this. I mean, the setting's perfect to add variation, so to speak. So
yeah, there's literally endless possibilities that could happen. So
and what else thoughts do you have? What else thoughts do you have on a TVA in general?
There's I do like the intro. It reminds me of like the Twilight Zone or like Doctor Who serial.
Right.
It's like that creepy, like weird. I don't know. It's like WandaVision in a way.
Yeah, it's very like kind of creepy, campy-ish.
I like that they choose to like mimic, like they have so much technology, but they choose to mimic like Earth technology, like really like old typewriters and shit.
That is funny. I don't know. Like that's the question too. Is it because are they human? Well, they're definitely humanoid, but are they human per se? And is it because humans can only perceive this type of technology, and it being so retro, maybe it's like the most basic and fundamental way of perceiving, because this is such a this show really is in grand scale. I would even argue that it's more grander than, for example, Captain Marvel, just because the substance in it is about time. It's about dimensional properties. So
I thought of it like maybe like Earth, for like Earth's timeline, they maybe have like humanoids running that department, and then maybe for like another planet they have like a different species. I don't know. It could just be like a departmental thing.
It's the whole thing though. It's not that they're like controlling the whole thing. It's not like for different planets, right? It's for the whole universe basically, because there was a huge war between different timelines. So I think that it's definitely all of them, which I'm surprised. And then they caught like a scroll, right? There's a scroll in there. So I'm kind of surprised we don't see more aliens in there.
Or who knows, maybe the scrolls are also shape-shifting as humans and then they're just operating.
I don't know. You love that scroll theory. You love it. You can't trust.
Telling you, man, when invasions come out, you're gonna be mind blown. All my theories gonna come out.
Right. Falcon all this time was a scroll. Yeah. So overall, though, what's your final thoughts on this?
It has potential. I mean, I don't want to like jump the gun and say it's gonna be great, because last time I did that, Iron Fist came out.
Oh, really?
But I trust that it's gonna, I mean, if it's gonna be like 6 episodes, we're probably gonna get like what, hour-long episodes.
This episode was about,
it was like 50 minutes at least. So I think Loki's gonna go through another character development moment, but he's definitely not gonna be the same Loki that we see it in 2012.
No, he won't come out unscathed. He definitely will change. I believe, at least. I like I said, I really enjoyed the first episode. I enjoy all of DisneyPlus Marvel related shows except WandaVision. Don't at me at that as well. I wasn't like a big fan of it, to be honest with you. But when
people didn't like it, so I mean, I personally liked it. I thought it was like campy, but it's not
the campy thing. It's just I felt really disappointed by the end, and they went to like a cliche Marvel trope, like, oh wait, we didn't fight through the whole thing, so now let's do this big bombastic fight. But it was just thrown in there. But with this, I feel like and it depends on the director too and the creator of the show. It just depends on them, you know what I mean? And I feel like
it's always the director's choice what they choose, like, style wise.
And then the creator and the writers, like they really I feel like they definitely know what they're doing, of course, and I definitely trust them. And I like that this whole thing is really like a character development type of show. So I appreciate the show as is. You know, it's a huge show because there's a lot of elements that we're not really familiar with in this too, so that's really important. So overall, I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait for the next episode. I hope it gets season 2. Who knows, because we don't know how Loki will end up, where Loki will end up. So that's my overall
still
thoughts on
too
that.
early to tell, but
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like the font choices are significant. They might have a meaning
probably
in the Loki title. I don't know if it's just like different time variants. Like they're supposed to represent like different points in time.
But, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I always pay attention to titles because they're always important. Like you gotta like nitpick.
No, and end credits too. There's a lot of references apparently, and there's a lot of like science talk with Einstein and whatnot there. That could give leeway to your thinking of, oh, where will the show go? So very significant show. I like it. Again, 9 out of 10. Oh, and I forgot to mention too, I love the music. and this as well.
I do like the music too.
I really do like
it's
the
so
music.
creepy, but it's like so cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very futuristic.
So, yeah, I'm digging the show.
Mhm.
How about you? You digging the show?
I'm digging the show.
We dig the show.
So the next episode drops Wednesday, June 15th. So pay attention to that. And then anything else you want to mention, or
We have an E3 reaction coming pretty soon. If on Wednesday or after Wednesday, but we definitely have a lengthy E3 reaction. And so you guys better stick around and listen to that.
don't sleep on us.
Don't sleep on us. We definitely got some good news about that. But other than that, yeah, I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, if you haven't watched our predictions reaction yet, and before you watch E3 or you want to watch it before the highlights, you can check that out on our YouTube and Anchor and Spotify. Until then, thank you always to our listeners for supporting our channel. If you enjoyed this discussion and you'd like to hear more topics like this, follow us on Anchor, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to from. So we appreciate you guys always. Till next time, thanks for having lunch with us.
Bye-bye.